The most severe crime you've ever committed. Were you caught? I ran an international substance trafficking operation. Back in the mid to late 1990s, I had a roommate from Amsterdam. We were really into smoking good bud, so one year we decided to take a trip there for the cup. While we were there, I met a lot of his relatives and friends. Some of these people were outright criminals, which is pretty common in the Netherlands. Several of his close friends were dealers selling a variety of items, including E. One night we felt like rolling, so one of his friends came over with 2 huge bags full and told us to grab a handful. So we took a bunch that night and had plenty left over to take back home with us. Several friends back home offered to buy what we had left, so we got rid of them. A few months later, my roommate decided to go back home to Amsterdam for a holiday and I went with him. We saw the same guy and I told him that we took some E back with us and everyone loved it and kept asking if they could get more. He replied, "You know, we can get some there if you know people who want them." Being the entrepreneur I am, we struck a deal and he gave us some to take back. We made it back with no problems and the E was gone in no time. His friend was impressed at how quickly they went, so they wanted to send more. We came up with ideas on how to get them here cost effectively and safely. We had some success with mailing them mixed in with large boxes of candy, but because we kept having to increase the number of shipments and quantity of E in each shipment, they eventually started getting busted. We switched methods a few times and finally realized the most effective way to do it was to have mules fly them in the country. These mules were professionals and would stuff the E in rubbers, dip them in a solution, and swallow the rubbers for the plane ride, only to drink some solution upon arrival at a hotel to poop them out in a bucket. Another method involved getting a tailor to sew E into a vest that was worn underneath a coat. This method worked quite well and was very cost efficient. One mule could carry about 8,000 of them, but it was riskier due to the random pat-downs. Business was good. We were making a ton of cash and it was actually harder to get the cash out of the country than getting the E here. I was really low-key about letting anyone know what we were doing, but my roommate loved to show off, which started causing problems between us. He was getting really messed up almost every night and it was causing a severe lack of judgment on his part. He loved the attention and eventually started hanging out with another crowd of people. One of these guys who had just gotten out of jail a few months before got a call from some dude he knew who wanted a rather large quantity. He goes to meet the guy and it was a setup. So he got busted along with all of our supply and it was going to be a few weeks before we got anything else. My roommate, in his delusional state, decided to fly back to Amsterdam to bring some back himself. He actually was so strung out at this point he decided to just duct tape a bag full to his inner thigh and fly back. If that weren't enough, he thought it was a good idea to take a couple of them for the flight, and needless to say he got busted. His friends back in Amsterdam were not too happy about the situation. They contacted me saying how his desire to be a big shot was putting the whole thing in jeopardy and wanted me to take over things. So we decided while he was in jail awaiting a court hearing for a bond that I'd take over. They kept sending him a small amount to keep him satisfied, but he wasn't to know that I was carrying on the business. I had a few friends in different cities that I trusted, so we expanded and the business just kept getting bigger and bigger. Eventually, I contacted another friend who had been living in another country partying for a few years named Mike. He happened to be very good friends with some guy whose dad was a major trafficker. He said everything was set up and as long as the quality was good they would jump at the opportunity because E was hard to come by there. So we set up a meeting and had a mule bring a vest full of E there. While sitting with Mike at his buddy's dad's compound, it finally hit me how large this had become. I mean, I was at a huge compound with a private zoo and dozens of armed guards. I was with the son of one of the most powerful traffickers in the hemisphere, and if everything went well I would have more money than I ever imagined possible in my entire life. This was like some stuff out of a movie. They liked the E and my friend's buddy Steve was going to talk to his dad the next day.